Ja.
Hey guys.
Gesundheit.
Hi.
Labriot. Thank you. I don't know why all
Look,
sneezes. Ah, that's it. That's the good
yeah,
stuff.
thank you. Thank you for the information. Yeah, I got it.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Have you played it yet?
No, we just got it today.
There's a lot there. It's like
Yeah.
like 3 hours, 4 hours of
Uh-huh.
comedy gold.
Yeah.
It's,
The crowd are just can't breathe.
it has to be.
How was your day?
Today, AT&T came to help us figure out how to make our Wi-Fi network better at home, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out like a whole bunch of like how it wasn't quite working properly. So, but it's great now. So I think we're gonna have very, very strong, reliable Wi-Fi for the whole holiday. Was
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. To make sure that it will be good.
Yes. So we were like not seeing great Wi-Fi in this part of the house, but we didn't know why. So the guy came this morning and he, spent a lot of time just like doing detective work around the house, trying to figure out like where is it going, why is it like this, and so he figured it out, rebooted things, moved one thing around, and we have a very strong, reliable network over the whole house now.
Great.
But
Absolutely great.
the bad part of the day was that I did that during school. So it was disruptive to the kids being in school, which was bad planning on my part. But it's over now. It was fine.
The kids are in school literally, or
well, they were like online at home.
Online at home.
So I basically, severed the internet connection briefly. They were okay in the end, but it was a little irritating.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Say, Rabbi, how do people pick up their kids?
Yes, I would say we've got many more were picked up yesterday on Monday afternoon, lots more today. And Kelly called a number of the people with kits outstanding, and they're basically going to pick them up today, or they're going to come on Friday. And we'll just let Nathalie know.
Okay, now do you have enough people to deliver?
I believe everyone who wanted a delivery, we know, got one.
Okay.
So that's good.
So if anything, I'm ready to, if you need.
Thank you. We will know more tonight about what remains. Kelly and Ron added 6 to 8 p.m. and which we should add at the beginning. So, but it is huge progress, which is very good.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Very good.
The hard ones are those who live far away, like the Goodmans and who else? Morris's live far out. But we're trying. Yoram and Kathy live pretty far out.
Yeah, right.
Webbs.
Who else?
The Webbs.
Right, they're coming tonight.
No, the Webbs, they are on the other side of town.
They're out by Santa Fe Lake. They're pretty far out of town.
They used to live there. They
don't live there anymore?
No. They live in I think either Twin Lakes or something, the apartment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they actually came by. I saw them come by. I was at a secondary meeting tonight at the building. I saw them come and get their things.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw them pick them up. So so big progress, and that's great. I'm pleased. All right, let's talk about a Rosh Hashanah Seder. So that might
Uh-huh.
sound strange.
Why have
But-
I never heard of this before?
So you probably, so you do one, you just didn't know you were doing one, but you probably do
Oh.
a very small one. So when we dip the apples in honey
Right?
and say, Yihira Tzom Lefanecha Shetehei, Shana Chadasha Metuka, when we do that, that is not unlike like a dipping of a piece of food into something else, not unlike at a Rosh Hashanah Seder, like the Pesach Seder. For some reason, I don't fully understand why, the Jews of Ashkenaz, in particular, really just went all in on the apples and honey. like go, we're good. We don't need anything else to do. But the Jews of Spain and North Africa and the Middle East, Edot HaMizrach and Sfaradim, they have a much richer tradition of symbolic foods.
Mhm.
And the symbolic foods all are based on Hebrew puns. So, for
Mhm.
example, the Hebrew word for carrot, gezer. And so you eat carrots, that you hope that the gezerah, the gezerah hara'ah, the evil decree will be torn up. So gezer, gezerah. So you eat carrots in hopes that evil will not happen to you in the coming year. Also, they cut carrots to look like gold coins, as sort of like a hoping for prosperity in the coming year as well. So it kind of like does like a visual play on coins and a verbal play on gezer and gezerah, and a whole bunch of food items like that, which we'll see. So that became those are called like the simanim, the symbolic foods. They eat fish heads, sheep heads, dates, spinach, carrots, beans, gourds, and squashes, a whole number of things, all of which have very clever plays on Hebrew words that are like sort of symbolic aspirations and hopes for the coming year. So inspired by that practice, the Rabbinical Assembly this year put together, in like the past month, a Rosh Hashanah Seder, which I will share with anybody. Actually, I got to email it out with the email today. I got to get that email going. So they kind of took that and the Ashkenazi customs and some of the other liturgy and themes of the high holidays and created, and you can totally pick and choose whatever you want to do. So, but you can basically, at the start of your meal, you can do any or all of this. But this really is a full-blown, this booklet is like a 48-page Haggadah, if you will. But you can do whatever you want. So, here it has like a guide for families with younger children. Here is sort of like a suggested order of things with the page numbers, and that's fine. It has a lot of Q4D, questions for discussion, which will work for anybody. Did you, on a different note, did you know that in Israel in particular, there has been a huge revival of Jewish medieval poetry, of
No.
Piyutim?
Mhm.
Yes. So Lachado D is well known. Yedid Nefesh is well known. Eladon is really old. Things like V'ye'etayu for the high holidays, Mare Kohen. But there are hundreds, and all of the Piyutim for Slichot, all the Piyutim for Tisha B'Av, Akdamut, Brachdodi for Pesach, Akdamut for Shavuot, Tal and Geshem are also older Piyutim. And there's so much more. So in Israel, they've been reviving a lot of Piyutim, like Yigdal, Adonolam are in this category. And so there's one in particular that they sort of like found or like came across called Achot Ketana Tfiloteha, little sister. Her prayers, she prepares and proclaims her praises. Oh God, please heal her now, her ailments, let this year and its curses conclude. So I think they felt that this was a particularly appropriate year for this, Tichle Shana V'Kiloloteha. May this year's curses come to an end. So that was, that was sort of like the,
Yeah,
like,
that
oh,
is-
wow, we've often had bad years. We're just spoiled and we're used to relatively good years. This has been a really hard year for everybody. So this sort of like picks up on a more of like a normal, just like, wow, that year really just stunk. 13th century Spain, that's the golden age. Even the golden age, they had bad years. So this is, sort of like the inspiration. Actually, there are links to all the songs. There's like the YouTube links for everything in the PDF, which is really nice. So that's really like a thing. So table of contents. So what they're proposing is to doing a candle lighting, and not unlike a Seder, Kadesh, like doing Kiddush for Yom Tov. And then before Motzi, like we do with the apples, doing the Simanim. Doing the Siman means like a symbol. Doing these symbolic foods. And then hand washing, Motzi. And then they actually have like another layer of Simanim, the Edot Mizrach and the Sephardic custom foods, for like another layer of, symbolic eating. And then they actually incorporate into their Magid section, if you will, or like the main like liturgical portion, Unatana Tokef, the core of Musaf, Malchuyot, God's sovereignty, Zichronot, God's remembering, and Shofarot, God's shofar blast. And then a Torah study and discussions about the day's Torah readings. And then Birkat HaMazon, and then a Tashlich piece. And then adding in, the last insertion in the Amidah, B'Sefer Chaim Tovi Mufarnosat Tova. That as like a concluding piece. And then like as a concluding piece. And then like, high holiday songs like we have in the Seder, the songs at the end. So it's sort of like loosely based on a Pesach Seder, but very, very high holiday focused and like inspired by these Edot Mizrach and Sephardic customs. So it has a nice setup list, candles for Hadlakat Nerot, juice and wine, apples and honey, a new fruit. What do you all know about the whole new, why we do new fruit?
I don't know. It's supposed to be
Or the reason for new fruit?
Right.
Oh, what do you mean by new fruit?
Like, so
It's
a new
something you
fruit,
haven't
any
eaten
fruit
yet this year.
any fruit that you have not had within one calendar year, that would be new, or new to you, in terms of like, when it becomes new again. So if you haven't had pomegranate in a calendar year, it would then be a new fruit.
I see. Okay.
And new things, of course, invoke the blessing Shehechianu.
I bought a pomegranate.
So there is a debate among the rabbis. Is Rosh Hashanah one day or is it 2 days? And so early on, clearly it was a one-day festival. And then it became a 2-day festival, even in the land of Israel, where outside the land of Israel, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot became 2-day festivals. But Rosh Hashanah was 2 days. Even in Israel, Rosh Hashanah was a 2-day festival. So they're not quite sure about if Rosh Hashanah is supposed to be 2 days or is really 1 day. So the rabbis came up with, some say, no, it's like a Yom Tov Sheni. The second day is a separate event. And then some said, no, it's like one long day. It's like a day stretched out over 2 days. It's not really a 2-day thing, just one very long day. And so the rabbis want to do Shehechianu the second night. The first night, Rosh Hashanah itself gives you the reason to say Shehechianu. We reached the new year, Mazel Tov. But for the second night, they're not quite sure if you have the reason for the blessing Shehechianu or not. So Ashkenazi Jews are very paranoid about saying blessings with no good reason. So they go, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a fruit that you haven't had in a year, And that, having a new fruit is always an occasion for saying Shechianu, as is new clothing, anything major that's new. So they say, let's eat a new fruit on the second night in case we shouldn't do the blessing Shechianu, but because we have the new fruit, it's okay that we do the blessing. Do you feel like the anxiety pricking out, like, oh my God, Jews of Europe are so paranoid? Yeah. So whatever. So that's how the custom arose, is just to make sure that Shechianu has a basis for the second night. So eating new fruits became a custom. So whatever you haven't had in a year is good. And goodness knows, nowadays, you can get some like weird and wacky fruits at the weird and wacky fruit section of most things. You can get a dragon fruit, whatever you need. Pomegranate, which could be a new fruit, but is now so popular, maybe not. A bowl of water, round chalot, and there are lots of great YouTube videos on how to braid chalot in a round shape. And I believe also Bagatelles is selling round chalot, so which you knew. And then a shofar if you have one. So that's sort of the core. And then, inspired by the Mizrahi Sephardi customs, dates, pumpkin, beets, some kind of, leek, scallion, chive, same thing, different scale, string beans or some light-colored bean, and a fish head, or, if that's too gross, candy fish, which we ordered. We ordered some kosher Swedish fish. And actually, it was so fun, we actually ordered from a company called Oh Nuts. They're a kosher nut and candy company. They actually have like a candy assortment that has date-based candy, and I think like the fish candy has like a number of like the Sephardic Mizrahi foods in candy form. So sort of like those. Right. So, but these these can be eaten independently. You could just have like a bowl of dates. You could just have like, steamed squash, steamed butternut squash, steamed pumpkin, whatever. You could just like roast beets. Roasted beets are amazing, by the way. Or you can use these in a dish. These could actually be, and that's what we're going to do for ourselves. We're actually going to use these as the basis for our menu. So we're going to bake we're going to make these things. We'll probably just buy dates, but I'm making a butternut squash dish. I'm going to make a beet dish. I'm going to make like, I'm doing like leek latkes, and we'll roast string beans, and we'll have the candy fish. So we're going to do all of these things, but as our menu. But you could just have them as like small symbolic foods, like on a Seder plate. Either way is good. The main point would be that you use the Yehi Ratzons, when you have each of them, and you all kind of like sample every dish as you kind of like begin the meal. And so, and you could do it any way you want. You could do all this at the beginning. You can spread it out. It's a smorgasbord of possibilities. All right. So, interestingly, the conservative movement has sort of, I don't know if they've revived or created. They found that Rosh Hashanah, as every festival has a historical event attached to it. Let me rephrase. Every Jewish festival is tied to some moment in the Jewish people's national history. Pesach is tied to the Exodus. Shavuot is tied to standing at Sinai. Sukkot commemorates the 40 years of God's love and compassion and support in the wilderness. Yom Kippur is, when the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies. Rosh Hashanah doesn't really commemorate, it's sort of an outlier. It doesn't really commemorate a moment. It commemorates, the creation of humanity on day 6 of creation. Some rabbis say it's the first day of creation. We could have this debate later if you wanted to. So they talk about Hitchadshut Shel Olam, like sort of like a prayer for the renewal of the earth. So a lot of the liturgy that they have been sort of expanding upon from the Machzor is focusing on the theme of creation. And Hayom Harat Olam. Today is the birthday of the world, or you could say today is pregnant with eternity. Lots of ways to translate that. And so they sort of like use a lot of creation-based kavanot intentions to frame a lot of liturgy. So when they do the candle blessing, they do it sort of like hinting at, the light created on day one of creation, for example. And then it has, standard kiddush. So this is definitely a mix of both, like, new and old liturgies. It has, and of course, this year we'll be doing Vayachulu on Friday evening as part of Kiddush, and we're doing the Kiddush that incorporates both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Shabbat, not Yom Kippur. We're doing the one that is both. And if you're doing, candle lighting, if that's your Shehachiyanu moment, then you do it there. And if you're doing it for Kiddush, then that's your Shehachiyanu moment there. Depends on what you're doing. Then it has the daytime Kiddush. This can be done in the evening. This can be done in the daytime. There's no one way this could be done. So it's sort of for any time you want to do this over Rosh Hashanah. It could be any of the festive meals in the day. It could be, you could even do like a bit in the night. You could do more in the daytime. You could do, come back and do the Torah reading on day one for day one, do the Torah reading for day two on day two. You can revisit this any number of ways. They added sort of like as an expansion of Kiddush, called like a Kiddush Hashanah. We do Kiddush for, Shabbat. We do Kiddush. We do, there is like a Kiddush Levana. There is like a monthly blessing for the new month. We announce the new month. There's sort of like a Kiddush for the new month, but nothing for the whole year. So the conservative movement kind of created sort of like a Kiddush that kind of like, not just covers like these 2 days, but it kind of like expansively covers the whole year. It's kind of like, thinking bigger. And, just kind of like setting an intention for the whole year, not just for the festival itself. And then it begins with, here's the questions for discussion. The theme of, confronting mortality is clearly a major piece of what makes the Rosh Hashanah liturgy work with Unatan Tokef. Who will live, who will die. So that sort of like inspires some of the questions. And then the Simanim, and it's got, parts for readers, it's got parts liturgy and discussion. So, apples and honey, sweetness of the new year, the new fruit. I think they've got passion fruit there and carambola, star fruit. That's nice. And then beyond that, blood oranges, which is a nice variety of orange. Whatever it is, to experience the newness of the year. Like it says, some people only do that on the second night because they feel like on the first night it's fine, but it's not necessary. But Shehachiyanu then has its basis. Pomegranate seeds. The lore is that there are 613 seeds in a pomegranate, which is not true. So there is that. But it is certainly one of the most seed-full fruits, and so it does feel like abundance and overflowingness, and it does certainly have the connotations of fertility and fecundity, etc. By the way, do you guys know the best ways to get the arils out of a pomegranate? Do you know?
Yeah, there's a special tool that Debbie has that you just squeeze it through and it takes them all out.
Really? That's
Yeah.
cool. So another way to do it, that's awesome. May I see your tool?
Debbie,
Could you go get it?
Do you have that pomegranate tool?
That is super cool.
Can you bring it in?
On Iron Chef, several years ago, Kat Cora was the one of the competing chefs, and she took a pomegranate, she cut it in half, like just down the hemisphere, took a big heavy wooden spoon and held it over a bowl, and she just spanked them out, and they just came flying out really fast. And making very little mess because any of the juice that's spattered went right into the bowl. Or you can do it underwater. You have to like take the pomegranate, maybe cut it into quarters, and then underwater you could actually then like peel them apart. You've got a pomegranate tool that just gets all the arils right out.
Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
you ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Oh my gosh. Whoa.
What is
Okay.
this? Um,
Okay, put it in. Can
Okay,
I
put
hold
it on
it
the
or you
camera?
can demonstrate it?
I,
Let me put it in front of the camera.
I want him to see what it
All
says. 60-second pomegranate
Peach
cedar.
cedar. All right. Well, what's the inside look like?
And this is what it looks like.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And then what you do, you can hold it for the directions,
Uh-huh.
is you cut it in half after you've washed it.
Right,
And
right.
then number two, then you score it just a little bit, one on the half. Can you see the knife and the
Yes.
thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like just like down the
And then
side.
and then you put it with the seeds down on top of this,
Uh-huh.
and then you take something like, you know, if
Yeah, one
you have
second.
a tenderizer pounder or something like that, you bang on it.
So it's the same thing like you were describing, Rabbi.
Before
Right.
this, I used to do it in water, but
Right.
and I got this at Dillon's, and they used to have it every year, but I haven't been able to find it for the last few years. I did give it to when I was able to find it, I gave it to some people, but
That's really cool. 60
Yeah.
second. I'm gonna check that. Hang on. I mean that's very cool. So that's a great tool. Yeah, it does not have to be a big bloody red mess.
no, it
It
doesn't.
does not have to be that way. There are several methods. That one, the spanking method, underwater. If only so much laundry would have spared my childhood if we had known that. Anyway, but the pomegranate definitely. I mean, it looks like. I mean, it really looks like, you know, a womb. It really does. So it's a fascinating birth image. You know, what will you give birth to this year? They include the shofar in this part. That's not my cup of tea. I probably wouldn't do that. I might talk about it, you know, but that's certainly, you know, thinking about the narrative of the shofar blast as going from wholeness to brokenness to extreme brokenness to wholeness again. That certainly is, you know, I think a compelling mini narrative. So to use that as like a question for discussion is nice. And then, of course, grape juice, wine being the that in bread, of course, being like the core of any meal, being the partnership between God and humanity par excellence. Like, you know, God makes grape, but we make it into the wine. You know, God makes the wheat, but we make it into the bread. Both of which are miraculous processes that, you know, I don't know how I read how they think bread was invented. They think it was invented where they would like chew the grains, and they realized that if they actually ground them up and, like, you know, cooked them with water, it made, you know, porridge basically. And then someone spilled their porridge onto a fire, and they pulled it out, and it was much better. And that led to flatbreads. Yeasted breads comes from Egypt because of beer making. They would basically, because they would cultivate beer, they would add the yeast froth into the bread. It made the bread rise. So, but that's Egyptian. But, you know, wine and bread being like symbols of God and humanity's partnership. And actually, I think they actually recommend spilling out wine to acknowledge whatever pain what we endured in the past year. Yeah,
So why did they choose 10 drops of wine like Pesach?
You could do that. You could do, if you know, you certainly should feel free to expand and maybe think about, you know.
Well, it says in the instructions to spill out 10 drops of wine.
Does it say 10?
Yeah.
Oh, 10. Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the italics.
Oh, I see it there. Yeah. I mean, and one could certainly enumerate, you know, the 10 things that caused pain in the past year. This year, it might be an easy to make list. easier than some years.
Mhm.
So those are some of the possibilities for the symbols, not only food, and then of course hand washing, and then, you know, motzi itself. That kind of begins the formal meal. And they say to save some of the bread for the tashlich portion after, if one is so inclined to include that in this particular, you know, meal. So that's a nice thing to do. And then here becomes sort of like, you know, what inspired this in general, adding these layers of meaning. So this goes back to the Talmudic period. This goes way back. There's a piece in Horayot in the Talmud Bavli. Abaye is a sage. Now that that you said that an omen is a significant matter. You know, that basically these symbols were thought to have some kind of efficacy or power. A person should always be accustomed to seeing these on Rosh Hashanah. And here's like an ancient list. Squash, fenugreek, leeks, chard, dates, as they grow quickly. So they all kind of like symbolize rapid growth and, you know, fertility, and serve as a positive omen for one's actions during the coming year. And they're evolved from this basic list, you know, the dates. So the word tamar kind of contains the word tam, which means finish or end. Like in the Modim paragraph, hamrachem kilu tama chasadecha. You know, your loving kindness should never end. So the Yihiratzon there, and you'll see the play on words. The Yihiratzon milfanecha denai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu tamu oivenu. Our enemies should cease. V'sonenu v'chol mevakshe ra'ayatenu. So there's the tamar and tam. There's the play on words there. Pumpkin is called kra, and so the kra sounds like the word kra, to tear. So there's the tearing up the decree. And this also could be carrots as well, because you got the word gazar, gazer, carrot also in there. The Yihiratzon milfanecha denai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu shetikra roa gazar dinenu. To tear up the evilness of our decree. Vayikaru lefanecha zechiyotenu. And that may our merits be called out. Another play on the word kra there as well too. So really, you know, so you got two plays on words for kra, gourd, and you can add carrots if you want to add carrots. They did not have carrots. Carrots are, I think, carrots are newer. I think carrots are a relatively recent addition to agriculture. These are much older. I think carrots are actually pretty recent. Nor were they orange, by the way. So they wouldn't look gold. But now they've kind of become part of it. Beets, or selek, and the word selek means to depart or retreat. So you hear it, milfanecha denai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu sheyistalku oivenu. May our enemies go away. V'sonenu v'chol mevakshe ra'ayatenu. Whoever seeks our ill. So the beets.
That's another red thing you have to be careful with.
Absolutely. I highly recommend. But a way to make beets is to, you know.
My yellow beets.
Oh, those golden beets are, if you can get them,
Yeah.
wonderful. But they just stain yellow. They're very stainy.
Yeah.
You cut off the little nose and cut off the top, and you basically rub it in oil, peppered salt, rub it in foil, roast them for like a baked potato. So like 425 for 75 minutes, and you get basically like a beautiful roasted beet. When they cool, the skins just can be, you know, peeled right off with paper towels. But it still makes a bloody red mess. Absolutely. But beets are good. And then leek, right? Leeks are called karet, or sorry, karati, which is also ancient Hebrew word for a rabbinic word for green. And the word karet means to be cut down or cut off. So you can, you know, cut off your enemies. String beans are called rubia. Sounds like the word yerbu, to increase, or lubia, like from lave, meaning heart or mind. And so you can, you know, play on the play on the words there. You hear some of the sheyirbu zechiyotenu utilabavenu. That you hearten us, you give us courage, more lave, more, you know, heart and mind. Fish heads, okay, so depending on one's level of like gross tolerance, fish heads, sheep heads, you know, we're gonna do the candy one this year. So we're you know, but apparently fish heads make great soup though. You were saying lubila, right?
Oh, it is so good. It is
Yellow
fantastic.
Is it? Why is the head so tasty? Do you know why?
So much
Why
fat.
is it so tasty?
Yeah, I mean, just
Brain,
isn't
the
just I
fat.
mean, more than
Because
regular parts
the
of the fish.
best parts are inside the head. Like the
Okay.
best parts of beef is on the bones. So this is also the same.
Okay,
Oh,
so
it
fish
just.
head soup is and then highly
And I
appropriate.
have one, so I will prepare one.
Fantastic. All right, so but there is but the word roche, you know, meaning head of the year or
Yeah,
the
head.
beginning of the
Yeah,
year.
right.
But there's a it's in the it's in Ki Tavo in the blessings and curses. That you should be like the head and not the tail. So here they use that phrase from Deuteronomy. "Shenihiyeh larosh velo liznav." We should always be at the head and not, you know, leaders and not followers, or be ahead and not be the ones trailing behind.
Behead.
No,
Be
to
the
be
head.
a head. To be a head. Better to
Yeah.
be, you know, at the
Ahead.
forefront than to be, you know, behind.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and this is, I think there are a few other food, but this is a pretty good selection of the foods. Like the chacrones, they've always done this for, you know, that's how they grew up. So
Mm.
it's important to, they actually revised this Haggadah to include that this is based on the Sephardic tradition. They didn't invent this. This goes way back and it's been around for centuries. So this is like very authentic multicultural Judaism here. And it's nice that these customs have become, you know, embraced by the wider Jewish community. Very nice. And then in the spirit of the 4 questions, they've got the 5 questions. And this is really kind of like thinking in terms of expanding concentric circles. You know, what did I do in the past year? My family, my community, my country, and then the world. So just thinking in increasingly large circles of interconnectedness. And you know, what do we do well? What do we want to improve and do better in the coming year? So to think about these at every different level. And this actually comes from Rabbi Israel Salanter, who is the founder of the Musar movement,
Yes.
who was heavily inspired by the great American sage Benjamin Franklin.
Mm.
Salanter actually, in his travels, I think to London specifically and France, encountered Franklin's work, was very impressed by it, and took a lot of inspiration for his personal improvement in his like helping people work on their inner dimensions. So
Mhm.
this is based on Salanter's work. There's also this kind of thinking has also been encouraged by Ron Wolfson, an educator from Omaha, who's been thinking about Jewish life in terms of increasing levels of relationships. So this is sort of like in that same relational spirit. And then Unatan Tokef becomes sort of like the next, you know, moment. And of course, one can do this or that. It's not really, there's no have to. It's opportunities to like infuse the meals and the holidays with additional layers of meaning and intention. So to use this, you know, very powerful, you know, part of the liturgy. You know, people could, you know, take turns reading it around the table, etc. Oh, but we're going to use this Haggadah Friday night over Zoom. Like we're gonna do like a Zoom Seder with this Friday after services. So this is going to be done. We'll figure out how we're going to do it. We'll make a plan. But this is going to be part of what we're going to do. And then, after Utan Tokef, you know, kind of like building upon, then it's kind of diving into some of the themes of Musaf and thinking about the metaphors, the images, and how they resonate, don't resonate. You know, images of and metaphors about, you know, kingship and royalty don't always resonate. But, you know, thinking about them maybe in a new way might help kind of revive some of these metaphors. And they use some stories that are from Talmud and from Midrashim to kind of get into those themes. And they actually even propose that people do full prostration, not full, but prostration, basically it's child's pose in yoga, which is the Jewish full prostration, not like flat on the ground, but more like child's pose. which is also used in Muslim prayer, which is done only on the high holidays. They're actually proposing you do like the full prostration. Some only go on the knees for Rosh Hashanah and reserve the full on the floor for Yom Kippur. That's fine. But they do kind of have the opportunity to think about that body position, that kind of grateful and submissive pose, and sort of thinking about some of the power and the meaning behind that prayer posture, which we don't use much. It's sort of like not a part of our regular, embodied prayer vocabulary. So, and then, Zichronot, talks about, memory and memory function. And then Shofarot, how the last of the shofar. And they actually have a nice thing where they kind of either like you're using a shofar or just actually just, making the sounds, together in whatever way might be appropriate for those who are at the table. And then I think they bring Aresha Sifatenu to kind of conclude with that one. And then it has really lovely Torah study possibilities. It has the full parasha of day 1 and day 2 with great questions. Day 1, the focus is on Hagar sort of opening her eyes and then seeing the well that was not there before, and like increasing our sensitivity and seeing things differently. And the binding of Isaac, day 2, they talk about enduring tests. And certainly enduring tests is, on the mind this year, and so forth. And so that's, and then also, reconciliation. Isaac and Abraham never actually speak in the Torah after the binding of Isaac. So one can imagine that moment perhaps, irreparably damaged their relationship, and then an invitation to actually recreate their dialogue if they were to speak again. In my dream ideal fantasy world, I would love to have people improvise and play out the following scene. It's Isaac. It's Abraham's. It's an Isaac and Rebecca's tent. The twins are there. Abraham's there. Uncle Yishmael's there. And the grandkids want to hear about Grandpa and Dad's camping trip. And everyone tells the story as they remember it, including Sarah's ghost, or including Sarah's ghost. So one day I will, get to that place. And it's a long road to get there in the way I want to do it. And then they also say in Deuteronomy 30, which we read just this past Shabbat, Parshat Nitzavim, the word lashuv, to return, to transform, to repent, to go back, occurs 7 times. So they talk about transformation, teshuvah, in a number of ways, with lots of good questions for discussion as well. So lots of great Torah study just built into this Haggadah. And then it has Birkat Hamazon, which is wonderful, just to end the meal in that way. And then it has a tashlich possibility, just sort of doing like with the little bit of challah that people have saved, and doing tashlich as like a concluding ritual in the end of the meal. And then ending with B'Sefer Chaim, Tovim, B'Shalom, maybe be written in the book of life and blessing, peace, sustenance, goodness, etc. As a way to kind of conclude tashlich. And then it has like a lot of possible songs. It has V'ye'etayu. You guys know you guys have done V'ye'etayu with Cantor on Monday. V'yitnu lecha keter melucha. V'yadadai yadadai 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 yadadai. Yadadai 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 yadadai. Yes, and Hayom, Mariah Kohen, a favorite of mine in particular. And basically, just like, and then just, some of the top 10 hits from the Machzor, and then has an Apples and Honey song at the end as well. Is that right? Is that? I don't know who that's by. So that is sort of like just like a new, recompiled, old and new things put together in a new way that might become a thing. Who knows? But I'm going to include this as a PDF download. I will share it with you all right now because we can. I can send a file. It's on my computer. Okay, I just got to find it. It is called, what is it called? It is called R.A. Roche. I'll find it. Recents. R.A. Roche. There it is. Boom. So you've now got it in, you can just click in the chat and download it and you'll have it first. In particular, that shopping list, which is very helpful. It's, you know, not a crazy list and just delicious list too. So that is the Seder we're going to be basing Friday evening off of. And there's a lot of nice possibilities there. Thoughts, comments, questions, ideas?
I have a question.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Yeah.
Okay. You know, on Friday,
Yeah.
On Friday we were invited to a, you know, to a home to for a Erev.
Dinner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what time are you going to do that, and how?
Mariv begins at 7 o'clock on Friday evening.
Uh-huh.
As I was told, it should. That's what I was told. And then we were gonna then give people time, and it's about an hour-long service, more or less. And then we were gonna give people time to do what they're gonna do. And we were thinking about doing a Seder at 8:30.
Uh-huh.
For those who wanted to over Zoom. We have no idea who will, you know, be there. We're just going to try it out. But you do not have to. You could just take this Seder and bring it with you, and, you know, try to you know, whatever they might be open to, maybe incorporate some of that there. You know, maybe some of the readings or the discussions you could incorporate with whomever you are. So it's sort of like a menu of possibilities that we're going to be using in a more deliberate fashion Friday night. So, you know, depends on, I guess, as with any Seder, the openness of the crowd to delaying food. Of course, they don't want to delay food. They want to eat right away and then discuss over the food or during food, which is also very important. Yeah, people should not be held back from eating food.
Yeah, and then I have another question about the some food. For example, gefilte fish. I always thought that it was one of the staples for the.
It is, in particular, Sarah is her symbol is the fish,
Uh-huh.
because of her fertility and her fecundity, and so fish as a symbol of fertility, rapid and rapid and expansive growth. Fish is a very traditional food for the holidays, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. She uses this as appetizer or the food.
It depends on your menu. Like we're doing fish and dairy, so we're going to use fish as our main course. We're not gonna, yeah. So it depends on people's menus. That's fine.
I see. Okay. Now, can you comment on tzimmus?
I know there's a huge debate about whether or not you include beef in a tzimmus or not. I tend to like sweet meat dishes in my own personal culinary life. I'm alone in my family about that. I think tzimmus is very important on Pesach to avoid constipation.
I see.
It plays it's also delicious.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge fan of tzimmus. Huge fan.
I prepared one, you know,
Yeah.
for yeah.
Nice. I gotta finish my menu and shop and cook tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah.
While wrapping up other details for the weekend as well. Yeah, I'm a big fan of tzimmus. Tzimmus is great. I love it. For Rosh Hashanah, what do we usually? We're gonna do the the vegetables as the Haggadah suggests, and yeah, that's our menu plan for. We'll choose some. We use beets a lot for all kinds of things. If you eat beets, especially red beets, it's important to remember the next day that you had beets.
Okay, yeah.
It's important to remember that you had beets because
Okay.
you might wonder, do I have to go to the hospital? But you don't. You just had beets the day before. Just a little PSA about beets.
Have you seen the prepackaged beets at
Yes, I have.
Dillon's? And they're really good.
Oh, they're great.
Yes, yeah, I think those are basically like roasted peeled beets. They're delicious.
Mhm.
Yeah,
you
and
can't go
they're
wrong with. I used
different
to really.
flavored.
The canned beets are also
Yeah.
fine, but it's not as tasty.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're good in salads. But they're not as tasty though. Yeah, roasting beets can be very easy, and the greens can also be sautéed or put in a salad. They're delicious.
Yeah.
They're kind of like spinach. They're actually very similar.
Very
So
easy.
the beet greens are very nice if you get beets with the greens.
Yeah.
Yeah, we cook those like
And,
a
and
starter kale.
you can make a salad, a little salad where
Yeah.
you combine beets and
Pomegranate?
and prunes and and walnuts, and it is
Oh.
absolutely divine.
And
It is
goat
divine.
cheese.
Oh,
Huh?
And goat cheese.
That sounds
Goat
fantastic.
cheese, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about avoiding meat. I could add goat cheese to everything I want to. That's yes. I have an acquaintance who is a vegetarian just because he wants to have ice cream whenever he wants. For me, that's cheese. Like, okay, we're doing a lot of veggie burgers now. I'm like, veggie burgers, yes, because I could put now cheese on my veggie burgers, and that's a good thing.
Huh?
Yeah, I'd rather
Good
have
idea.
fake meat than fake cheese any day of the week.
that's for sure. I agree
Yeah,
with
fake
you.
cheese is getting better. It's getting better, but they're still not as good as the fake meat. There's no vegetarian steak yet. That's the next major hurdle.
Oh,
Yeah, ground beef they got. They cannot replicate vegetarian steaks made from plants yet. That's the next holy grail of plant-based meats is, the actual cuts. They
uh-huh.
got some pretty good fake chicken stuff though. But fake beef can be very hard. Anyway, nothing here.
Grill or shiitake mushroom. That's the filet mignon of vegetarianism.
Shiitake is delicious. Those are great mushrooms. Yeah, those are really good. We do like a lot of like a roasted portobello sometimes.
That's what I think you.
That makes a good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking was portobello, not a
Yeah.
shiitake.
So the portobello legend is there's a guy trying to sell his brown mushrooms, and he goes to a marketing person. He says, "Yeah, here's what you do: grow them really big, give them a fake Italian name, then sell small ones as minis." Yeah, so that's a good idea. Thank you. That's how we got portobello mushrooms. They're not Italian.
Or baby, you can charge a lot more. Baby portobellos.
Yeah, exactly. That's good marketing. They're good mushrooms. Don't get me wrong, but they're not Italian. They're just brown. Yeah, we love them. They're great.
I just thought of something when we're talking about Isaac and
Yeah.
the relationship being ruined, and I thought, okay, so God has him go up there and the
Almost
reason,
son. Yeah.
the reason being he wants to see if he is he's puts God first, or
So good question.
do
What
it,
is God's motive? That is the first question.
well, see, that's what I was thinking. So in the end, I mean, he says, no, you don't have to do it. So you don't have to kill your son. But in a sense, they did. It was a killing, and it killed the relationship.
It's certainly that is a very powerful reading of that narrative. Is that basically Abraham sacrifices his son in a relational way, right?
Yeah.
Actually, what's fascinating is the rabbi. And Isaac's actually gone, and Isaac only reappears 3 years later, because the rabbis assume that Isaac was 37 at the binding of Isaac, based on the connection between the binding of Isaac and Sarah's death, which the rabbis assume was at the same time. And Sarah dies at 127. She had Isaac when she was 90. Therefore, Isaac is 37, which is weird because the story does not make him sound like an adult. So
Yeah.
whatever. So, and Isaac marries Rebecca when he is 40. So for 3 years, where did he go? And so the rabbis imagine he actually went to bring Hagar back for Abraham.
Oh, he's still, okay.
Because Abraham has a third wife
Right.
named Keturah. And the rabbis imagine that she is actually just Hagar with a new name. So
Okay.
the rabbis imagine that Isaac, even if they have ruined their own personal connection,
Mm-hmm.
Isaac still goes to bring Hagar and Ishmael back for his father, which is another a poignant thing to do, especially if they have no actual connection themselves. To
Yeah.
bring back the rival to his mother is a fascinating possibility of how
Mhm.
that story could have played out. And there's no one way these things play out. These are just like midrashic, possibilities,
Right.
which is wonderful. So yeah, no, that's very potent stuff. And could they ever? Is it beyond repair? That's
Yeah.
that is an open question that I do not have the exact answer for because there is no one answer. Isaac and Ishmael will bury Abraham together. That's a biblical fact that we know. So
Mhm.
there's at least that level of connection where he will be there when his father needs burial with his brother. So that's interesting too. And
Yeah.
what's their chat about when they meet again? I don't know. These are the things that I think about quite a bit. And we'll do some bibliodrama when we're back in the sanctuary. We'll get there. It'll be fun.
Okay.
I like to do like an improv Torah study, where people step into the roles of various biblical characters and walk around a little bit in their shoes, not literally, just figuratively. To actually to speak in the role of Isaac, Abraham, speak in the role of the ram, the knife, the altar, the fire. Yes, lots of voices I'd like to hear from.
Okay. That sounds real interesting.
It'll be fun. Yeah, we'll get there. Right now, just getting through the holidays.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
And
get
you're doing it.
what?
And you are getting through the holidays.
We will.
And you're getting us through the holidays, and I just think about it a number of times a day. I'm just in awe of you, and
Aw.
yes, yeah. Aw.
That's my sense of humor.
Right.
Thank you. All right.
I second.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about this Seder or this possibilities?
You downloaded it?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to.
Yeah, didn't you see it here?
Oh, I saw something. I didn't know what it was.
All right. Yeah. No, it's a very nice piece that they put together. Although, there's, I think there's a little more work they could have done in terms of like formatting the Hebrew a little more accessibly, but they were working under a very tight deadline. It's a good first draft. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I would have done these a little bit more differently. That's all right. They got a lot of good stuff in there. Actually, if you're looking at it as a PDF, for example, where is it? So the list of songs is basically a YouTube playlist. Here it is. So very nice. So this Achot Ketana, they actually have this whole song. One second. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Some of the great Sephardic synagogues in Spain. Oh, never mind. That's cool. Take a picture. Yeah, so there's a link to that in the PDF too, which is nice.
Okay,
Among other, yeah.
so I'm going to get off because I have arranged with Mark Webb to do a test Zoom with him so he can take an Ali on
Oh,
Saturday.
that's great. I'm really glad you're doing that because they were a little I think skeptical about Zoom. I'm really glad you're doing that. That's great. So thank you for doing that with him.
So good night. And we'll
Good
see you
night. I
tomorrow.
say good night to you as well. Good night, everybody. And I'll
Good
see
night.
you, if not
Good night.
tomorrow, then I'll see you
Good
Well,
night.
Friday.
I mean,
Shana,
good
Good night, all.
Have a good and sweet New Year.
okay.